Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome to the new session of these classes where we are preparing ourselves for civil services and for RBI DEPR exam and for, depends whether you're doing economics optional or Indian economic service. Now, let me just go ahead and take some time today to, first of all, hi, good afternoon, beta. Let me just take some time today to go ahead and to brief you, right, about what we want to go ahead and do and how we want to go ahead and how we want to do it. So, when we go ahead and when we talk about this preparation, right, it is going to be a mix of two kind of different lectures. One is going to be your recorded lectures, and one is going to be your live lectures. Why two different kind of lectures? Why can't we go ahead and why can't we have everything in the live format or everything in the recorded format? The idea is that, I don't want to go ahead and I don't want to really spend the entire year just teaching you, right? The basics or the chapters of the syllabus. The idea is that we wrap up the syllabus as soon as possible. चाहे थोड़ा recorded में करें, थोड़ा live में करें. But we move on to the past year questions. We move on to the mock questions. We move on to the part where we understand how to write the answer to the question, right? So it may happen in exam, and ये बहुत बारी होगा, आप notice करोगे, that you may know a concept very well, right? But when you have to write that, so for example, if today I go ahead and I give you a question that list all the components of money supply, right? And I tell you, elaborate on which one is most important for RBI. Now, what will happen, and you will realize this sooner or later, is that you may know the answer to this question. ये अच्छे से आपको पता होगा कि इसका क्या आंसर है, right? You may know what are the components of money supply. You may know that, how important is M3, how important is M1, and उनका क्या क्या importance है, right? But when you have to write the answer, you may not be able to write it in the limited word limit that is given to you, right? For example, if this is a 5-mark question, then my word limit has to be 100, within 100 words. But if this is a, say, 15 marks question, then it can be up to 200, right? And if this is a 25 marks question, then it has to be up to 300, right? So this word limit within which I have to write the answer, and what are the important pointers that I have to write within the answer, you may not know that, right? So idea is that you go ahead and you finish the course with me on time, and we dedicate the maximum time on going ahead and writing the answers to the question. That is what my agenda is. Every day we sit together, I give you 5 questions, I give you 4 questions, and I tell you that, ठीक है, पहले 2 का answer I will write it for you. I will show you how to write it. And on exactly that topic, I will give you similar questions for which you have to go ahead and you have to write the answer. Okay. So for example, if I teach you how to write the answer for this one, then I can go ahead and I can reword this question in some other way. So I can say that, what are new monetary aggregates? Why are they important component of money supply? So now what I have done is I have reworded the question, right? Or I have given you another similar question. So what my idea is for these classes is that if I go ahead and if I teach you this, if I tell you this in the class, then I give you this as a homework, and you prepare this answer on your own, right? दोनों का ही concept will be there on your portal. चाहे मनी सप्लाई का कॉन्सेप्ट हो, चाहे न्यू मॉनेटरी एग्रीगेट्स में L1, L2, L3 का कॉन्सेप्ट हो, both concepts will be there on the portal. And those things which are not there on the portal, we will cover them in the live lecture. But then if I ask you to write some question, you should be able to look into the lecture, read it from the lecture, but you should be able to write the answer to that question. That is what is important for this kind of course, right? So that is what my aim is, that we go ahead and we wrap up all the topics quickly. And then we go ahead and we start focusing our entire focus. It should be on the other part, which should be answer writing, right? So we will strategize it in this way. Another thing which is important is that if you look at the syllabus is very, very vast. बहुत ही huge syllabus hai, right? And you have to cover them in great detail, right? So the next thing that actually goes ahead, and this is the next question which you asked me, that which books should we be following? So today, first of all, I will begin by going ahead and telling you the list of the books also, which you have to go ahead and you have to follow. Now, again, for these books, although I will mention them, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि यही books ही करनी है, right? So, for example, if I tell you do Blanchard, but in your college, you have already done Dornbusch and you're more comfortable with Dornbusch, then it is fine. Go ahead, do Dornbusch, does not matter, right? This is just a list which is to tell you that if you want to pick up any book and you haven't begun with any book as of now, तो इस book से आप कर सकते हो. That is the entire, thing that I want to go ahead and do here. So please write down the list of the books. Right. So first of all, microeconomics. For microeconomics, you have to go ahead and you have to summarize two books together. The first one is H.L. Ahuja, right? And the second one is Varian. Now, why do you need two books? Why you cannot do only using one of the books? That is because when we go ahead and when we talk about H.L. Ahuja, it is going to go ahead and it is going to give you some of the theoretical concepts, right? So it is going to tell you, for example, who gave the law of demand, right? Who gave marginal utility? What is Gaussian's law? So when we talk about these theoretical concepts, then you will be very clear with these theoretical concepts using H.L. Ahuja. But at the same time, there will be some mathematical concept which will be required, right? So for example, if I tell you, what is a food stamp program? वो क्या होता है, right? Or if I ask you, derive the cost curves, right? Or derive the conditional input demand or unconditional input demand. So those concepts are something which will be more clear using the Varian book, right? So Varian or Snyder, one of these two books, plus H.L. Ahuja for all these theoretical concepts, these two books will be sufficient, right? The second that we have to go ahead and that we have to do, that is macroeconomics. Now, again, for macroeconomics, one book which is actually fine, that is basically your H.L. Ahuja, right? And with this H.L. Ahuja, you can do any one of the following books. So you can go ahead and you can do Blanchard, right? Or you can do Dornbusch. Now, many people, they have also studied Mankiw in their college, right? And they think that, Mankiw is also a nice enough book. So if you are doing H.L. Ahuja thoroughly, right, then even going ahead and doing Mankiw would be fine. It's not a big deal, but then you have to do this H.L. Ahuja very, very thoroughly. You can also do manicure. This is also fine, right? Then let us go ahead and let us talk about maths. For maths, first of all, you can go ahead and you can do Sitsater and Hammond. This is the best book that we always go ahead and suggest. This should be more than enough because if you look maths में बहुत ज़्यादा in-depth question नहीं आते हैं. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा if you look into the past year papers, just sit today, open up all the past year papers and start reading them through. Just see what the past year question papers are saying. So if you look into the past year paper, you will realize that not a lot has been asked, right? And what is important here is that you will see that one or two questions on Leontief input-output model, maximum to maximum, they can go ahead and ask you some basic, some basic application of the derivatives, right? मतलब कुछ Lagrange अगर आ गया तो आ गया. So that's the maximum that can be asked, not very in-depth, asking of the maths part. So when we talk about maths, therefore, Satan and Hammond is an excellent book to be followed. And if you find that this is on a little higher level, then what you can go ahead and what you can do is that you can follow AC Chiang. Or AC Chiang is also a good book and it's on a little lower level than Satan and Hammond, a little lower level, right? So you can go ahead and you can follow this book otherwise. Now let's go ahead and talk about, no need to do in much detail. You don't require to go ahead and to do all the R.D. Sharma now. It's not a master's in economics entrance exam. It's a comparatively little theoretical exam. So there is no need for you to go ahead and do R.D. Sharma thoroughly or IIT JEE ke papers thoroughly. Now, that's not the level of the exam that will be asked, right? So this book is your Bible. उससे ऊपर book तो नहीं ही चाहिए होगी, right? Okay. Then the next thing that you have to do is statistics. Now, when we go ahead and when we talk about the stats part, then DeVore is an excellent book. But if you feel that, ma'am, probably in DeVore, it's a lot of concepts and I am not able to go ahead and not able to understand this thoroughly, then what you can go ahead and what you can do is, instead of DeVore, you can do from S.C. Gupta. Right? When you go ahead and when you do this from S.C. Gupta, make sure that you only and only do examples. Because this is a very big book, first of all. And secondly, this is a book which is suggested to stats students, right? It is for stats honor students. So, उतना level में हमें करने का जरूरत नहीं है. We have to go ahead and we have to just do this much. इतना ऊपर से examples अगर आप कर लोगे, especially questions related to hypothesis testing. What is a one-tailed test? What's a two-tailed test? What is type 1 error, type 2 error? If you go ahead and if you do that much, it should be more than enough for you, right? Then after this, let us go ahead and let us talk about econometrics. Very important. For econometrics, the book that you should be following is Gujarati. Right? But apart from Gujarati, बहुत ही थोड़े में, you should be aware of some other concepts like something called as principal component analysis. थोड़ा सा ये जानना कि what is principal component analysis is also a good idea, right? So you can go ahead and you can read this through. Of course, you will find all these concepts on the portal. ऐसा नहीं है कि portal पे available नहीं है. This is also there on the portal. I just want to put a star mark here. Econometrics is something, especially this principal component analysis and X other things, that this is not asked in IAS economics option. This is not asked in IAS economics optional. So if you are only preparing for economics optional, but not for Indian Economic Service or not for RBI Grade B DEPR, then you can go ahead and you can skip this part completely, right? जो भी थोड़ा बहुत I have to tell you that can be completed as part of statistics, वो भी थोड़ा ही जानना, not in much detail, and you can focus on the theoretical aspects. That means micro and macro. Next, beta. Sixth, and the most important for your civil service now is Indian economy. Now, when we talk about Indian economy, first of all, if you are not from Delhi University, I will be going ahead and I can, I can suggest you that you go ahead and you quickly look at the reading list of Indian economy of Delhi University. The reading list suggested in Delhi University is really, really excellent, and it helps you prepare a lot for your, exams. उसमें वो सब कुछ कवर करते हैं, चाहे हम 5 year plans की बात करें, चाहे हम इन डिटेल महालनोबिस प्लान की बात करें, चाहे हम इन डिटेल किसी और चीज की LPG पॉलिसीज की बात करें. This reading list means this book, Indian economy, that is taught in Delhi University, eco honors students. It's a very, very good, well summarized reading. So the first thing is that you should go ahead and you should look at this. और ये जो भी reading list है, उसके जो भी chapters हैं, it's a good idea to go through them, right? The second thing which is important is that well before you pick up on Uma Kapila or Ramesh Singh or any other book, you must go ahead and you must do NCERT in detail. Right? And then you can pick up on one of the two things. So either Uma Kapila or Ramesh Singh. One of these two you can go ahead and you can pick up. Okay. Okay. Now let us go ahead and talk about 7th, development economics. For development economics as such, there is no one book which you can go ahead and you can follow, but most of the concepts you can find in Todaro and Smith. Most of the concepts. Okay, like for example, if I have to refer to a book which tells me what is development, how development is different from growth, what is human development index, what are what is the difference between convergence and divergence, right? What is conditional convergence, right? If I have to look into some important models also, then Todaro and Smith is an excellent book to be followed, right? Most of the concepts are well versed in Todaro and Smith. But still, there are some additional models which you may not find in Todaro and Smith. So, wo models I have gone ahead and I have covered them well on the portal. So, plus portal. These two things together should be more than enough for, your development economics part. Okay. The next that we have is international economics. right? For international economics, definitely Salvatore is the book you can refer to. कुछ चीजें हैं जो you have to definitely understand. There are some important models, like you must go ahead and you must understand what is Ricardian model. You must go ahead and know what is Hexagon model, what is standard trade models. So ये सारे models तो definitely you have to go ahead and study. What is gravity model for that matter? So first of all, you need to go ahead and you need to understand that what is what book to be followed here in international economics. Apart from this, there are some macroeconomic international economics components also, जहाँ पे macroeconomics और international economics merge होती है. जैसे for example, if I want to understand what happens to ISLM curve in open economy, right? Or what is the multiplier, say fiscal policy multiplier, but in open economy. ठीक है, तो कभी कभी ऐसा होता है that we merge macro with international. Now those concepts are well explained in Dornbusch also. बहुत अच्छे से well versed हैं वो concepts Dornbusch में, and those same concepts they're also well versed in your Salvatore also. So up to you, you can follow any book. All these concepts, whether we talk about Mundell-Fleming model, whether we go ahead and talk about concepts like ISLM in open economy or any other concept, that is also covered well in detail on your portal. So you can also go ahead and refer to your portal for the same. Okay. Okay. Now let us go ahead and talk about. So we have done international, we have done Dev Eco. Now let's talk about public eco, public economics. Right? Now when we talk about public economics, तो public economics में आपको बहुत ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं करना है. Even if you do microeconomic aspect of public economics, majorly it covers a lot of things, right? If you do the chapter on externalities, if you do the chapter on your public goods, right, and asymmetric information, these three chapters are more than enough for your exam point of view from micro. So externalities, public goods, asymmetric information. These three should be enough. But apart from this, अगर मुझे इसके अलावा कुछ पढ़ना, देखो इकोनॉमिक्स ऑप्शनल के लिए दिस शुड बी फाइन. बट इफ यू थिंक कि इसके अलावा देयर आर स्टिल थिंग्स व्हिच आर आस्क्ड इन PYQs of IES or DEPR, then what you can go ahead and do is you can do a book which is called as Pulis and Jones. Now this helps you understand some of the additional concepts, right? For example, if I tell you what is the difference between finding the market equilibrium of public versus private good. So, Mane, I am asking you a question where we want to understand whether the demand curve will be vertically summarized or horizontally summarized. तो जब हमें ऐसे क्वेश्चंस करने होते हैं तो उस चीज के लिए कि what is say sacrifice principle, right? Or the other things like what is optimal taxation? What are the rules for optimal taxation, right? So if I have to do those concepts well, तो उसके लिए you can go ahead and you can refer to Pulis and Jones also. Okay, that should be more than enough. Okay, so these are the more or less important readings which you have to go ahead and you have to follow. Again, most of the things beta I have tried to put on the portal. I've tried to cover them in detail. तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आपको एकदम से ऐसा कुछ दिखेगा जो पोर्टल पे बिल्कुल ही ना हो. And जो चीजें we have missed on the portal, majorly it is going to be units on money and banking and majorly units on Indian economy. We will be covering them in the live lectures. But as I said in the beginning कि हमारा idea ये है कि हम quickly lectures को wrap up करें. मेरा idea ये है that we pick up on topics. And this is the best way to prepare, that I go ahead and I tell you that look, I am going to go ahead and I am going to start with the revision of utility functions. So what you do is you go through my lectures on the portal on utility. We meet in the next class. I solve 3 questions with you. क्योंकि इसमें जितना हम practice करेंगे, जितना हम problem solving करेंगे, उतना ज्यादा chances रहेंगे कि we go ahead and we get good marks, right? So I do 2 to 3 questions with you on that, and from the PYQs, and then I give you 2 3 for homework. You do that, and you forever cover that topic, close that topic. वो topic आपका हो गया. We move on to the next topic, and we keep doing that topic wise. That is the best way to learn. And when I will be doing those questions in class, anyways, we will be revising the topic also, right? You need to be very, very consistent with me, because, if you skip a day, you're skipping on one topic, right? And then you may not get time to look back at that topic. So we don't want to do that, right? So you have to be super consistent with me so that we go ahead and we cover this course together. Okay. Now let us go ahead and begin the lecture. Topic for the day, the unit that I am beginning with, that unit is called as money and banking. Right? And the first topic that I want to go ahead and cover today, that is called as components of money supply. The components of money supply. Now, what is money supply? Money supply is basically the total stock of money that circulates in the economy at a particular point of time. एक टाइम पर, एक समय में जितना भी पैसा इकोनॉमी में रोटेट हो रहा है, हाँ, जितना भी पैसा इकोनॉमी में सर्क्यूलेट हो रहा है, इकोनॉमी में है, द टोटल स्टॉक ऑफ मनी, जितना भी मनी इकोनॉमी में है, जो इकोनॉमी में मूव कर रहा है एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मनी सप्लाई, राइट? अब इसमें सब कुछ आ जाता है. इट इंक्लूड्स द करेंसीज ऑल्सो, इट इंक्लूड्स द नोट ऑल्सो, द कॉइन्स ऑल्सो, एंड इट ऑल्सो इंक्लूड्स द डिपॉजिट दैट पीपल आर मेकिंग इन द बैंक. जो भी पैसा लोगों ने बैंक के अंदर रखा हुआ है वो भी इसमें इंक्लूड होगा, राइट? नाउ व्हाई इज दिस मनी सप्लाई इंपॉर्टेंट? क्यों है ये इंपॉर्टेंट? मनी सप्लाई इज इंपॉर्टेंट because it goes ahead and it helps you in various things, right? So you have heard the most important word, which is monetary policy. And we know that ये monetary policy कितना important होता है. If I have to increase inflation or bring deflation or change the interest rate in the economy, change the output in the economy, right? तो LM curve के through जब भी हम work करते हैं, monetary policies के through जब भी हम work करते हैं, we are actually changing the money supply in the economy, right? So, like for example, recently we heard that the RBI, it cut down 50 basis points. It's a part of monetary policy, right? You are working through the interest rates, right? You're trying to go ahead and you're trying to bring a policy where you can have more and more loans that people take, क्योंकि आपने interest rate को गिराया है. So whenever we talk about money supply is very, 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 very important economic indicator. क्योंकि वही मनी सप्लाई है जो इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करता है, वही मनी सप्लाई है जो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ को इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहा है, राइट? वही मनी सप्लाई है जो सारी मॉनेटरी पॉलिसीज को फॉर्मुलेट करने में हेल्प कर रहा है, राइट? सो मनी, understanding money supply is very important as it is an important key indicator. Now please write it with me. So money supply refers to the total stock of money circulating in an economy at a particular point of time. So you understand the difference between stock and flow. What is the difference between stock and flow? Anyone? What's the difference between stock concept and flow concept? So whenever we talk about stock, stock is at a point of time, and flow is over a period of time. So flow is anything that flows, right? Like for example, when we talk about investment, investment is flowing, but a stock will be capital. जब हम सारा investment को इकट्ठा कर लेते हैं, then that becomes capital, right? So when we talk about a stock concept, stock is any concept which is at a specific point in time, right? और जो हमारा flow concept है, flow is anything which is over a period of time, right? Over a period of time, right? So when we say that money supply, because money supply किसी भी पॉइंट पे देखी जाती है कि आज कितना है, अभी कितना है, इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे कितना है. So you will see that I have already used the word stock. So stock is always at a point of time, right? और flow concept क्या है? Over a period of time, right? So money supply, it is a stock concept. Okay. Now let us try to understand what are the components of money supply. So write it with me. It includes currency. By currency, I mean it includes notes and coins both, right? Held by the public, and deposits held in bank that are readily available for spending and investment, right? So दो चीजें इंक्लूड हो गई. पहला करेंसी, वॉट एवर मनी इज सर्क्यूलेटिंग इन द इकोनॉमी इज द करेंसी. सेकेंडली, जो भी पैसा लोगों ने बैंक के अंदर रखा है, दैट इज ऑल्सो इंक्लूडेड, राइट? नाउ व्हाई इज इट इंपॉर्टेंट? व्हाई इज मनी सप्लाई इंपॉर्टेंट? Now, the first thing is that it is a key indicator used by central bank to formulate monetary policies. So whenever we have to go ahead and understand the monetary policies, right? Increase the money supply, decrease the money supply to change the interest rate in the economy. तो थोड़ा सा अगर हम देखें, if I take this to be the supply of money, right, and demand of money, and the interest rate. So you notice that whenever money supply changes, increases or decreases, it changes your equilibrium interest rate. So suppose this was my equilibrium interest rate. So when money supply decreases, it will go ahead and it will increase my equilibrium interest rate. And when it increases, it will decrease my equilibrium interest rate. And then this interest rate will work further. Agar interest rate decrease hua, it will increase the number of loans that people will take. And when there will be more loans, then it will mean that there will be more spending. More spending means more aggregate demand, right? So in a way, we are able to go ahead and we are able to also influence economic growth. क्योंकि अगर demand ज़्यादा होगी, तो definitely there will be more output produced in the economy, right? And when there will be more output in the economy, more consumption will lead to more output. It will automatically lead to more growth in the economy, right? So it is able to go ahead and it is able to influence the economic growth by formulating the monetary policy, right? So that's the first reason, that it helps us to formulate monetary policy. Second, beta, control inflation, right? Now, when there is a lot of money in the economy, then money will lose value. जो भी चीज ज्यादा होती है उसकी वैल्यू ऑटोमेटिकली गिर जाती है, right? And how does money loses its value? It loses its value through inflation. अगर चीजों का प्राइस बढ़ेगा, उनकी वर्थ कम होगी, इट मींस ऑटोमेटिकली इट इज गोइंग टू लीड टू अ डिक्रीज इन द वैल्यू ऑफ मनी. मनी का कुछ ज्यादा वैल्यू नहीं रहता है when there is high inflation in the economy, right? So why is it important? Because supply of money is helping us to control inflation, right? So when there is too much money supply, it can lead to inflation. Second, it goes ahead and it stimulates growth. Right? I've already told you, through this entire process, we can stimulate growth, right? So you can just write down that higher money supply, it leads to. So यहाँ से देखो, अगर मनी सप्लाई ज्यादा हुई, इंटरेस्ट रेट गिरेगा. जब इंटरेस्ट रेट गिरेगा, तो लोन लेना आसान होगा. If it is easy to take loan, automatically it also means that there will be more investment. Because investment is negatively related to interest rate. So the more the loans that you can take, because the lesser is the interest rate, the more will be your investment. And if there will be more investment, automatically इससे भी growth बढ़ेगी economy की. More GDP in the economy will be there. So higher money supply, it leads to higher investment and also aggregate demand. And consumption, right? So consumption and spending is also more through this process. Investment ज़्यादा हो रही है, and we know that AD is C plus I plus G plus NX. So when there is more investment and when there is more consumption, so automatically aggregate demand will be more. Third, it helps you determine interest rate, right? So please write down central banks manage money supply to influence interest rate. I've already told you this one. So this is the reason why understanding money supply is important. इसलिए money supply को पढ़ना बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. Okay. Now let us go ahead and understand the components of money supply. when we talk about components of money supply, सबसे पहला और सबसे बेसिक जो हमें फाउंडेशन होते हैं components की, जो हमें पढ़नी होगी, वो हो जाता है बेसिकली M naught, right? So first one is M naught. M naught is also called as reserve money, right? Base money, right? और high powered money. ये तीन वर्ड्स इनको बोला जाता है, रिजर्व मनी, बेस मनी, हाई पावर मनी. अब क्यों ये बोला जाता है वो भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. सी, as we will go ahead and as we will understand the concept of money multiplier, we will understand कि ये जो हमारा M naught है, this is the base amount of money in the economy. ठीक है, ये वो मनी है जो सेंट्रल बैंक ने डायरेक्टली क्रिएट किया है. ये एक बेस की तरह एक्ट करता है. ये वो मनी है जो सेंट्रल बैंक प्रिंट कर रहा है. एंड दिस मनी इज देन यूज्ड फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ क्रेडिट क्रिएशन. इसी से हम आगे लोन्स देते हैं लोगों को. एंड व्हेन वी go ahead and give loans in the economy, money multiplies itself. हमने किसी को लोन दिया, उसने आगे उसको पैसे को खर्च किया, जिस पे खर्च किया अगेन दैट पर्सन विल डिपॉजिट द मनी इन द बैंक. जो मनी में डिपॉजिट्स आए अगेन उससे लोन दिया. सो वी विल स्टार्ट द प्रोसेस ऑफ money creation. We'll start the process of money multiplier. We'll talk about that. But the base is this money, right? That's why it is also called as high powered money. इसके पास एक high power है that it can multiply itself, right? That it can create the process of money multiplier, right? So it is the most liquid form of money and it is the foundation of money. क्योंकि ये वो मनी है जो डायरेक्टली सेंट्रल बैंक दे रहा है. Hence, it is the foundational form of money. So we can write this down that M naught is the most liquid and foundational form of money in the economy. It is created directly by the central bank and forms the base for credit creation by commercial banks. Right? जो भी क्रेडिट क्रिएशन होगा, जो भी प्रोसेस ऑफ मनी मल्टीप्लायर होगा, दैट विल बी ओवर एंड अबव ऑन टॉप ऑफ दिस फाउंडेशन, राइट? तो ये फाउंडेशन है हमारे लिए. ओके, नाउ व्हाट डज दिस इंक्लूड्स? इट इंक्लूड्स फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल करेंसी in circulation, right? What is currency in circulation? Notes and coins held by bank. Second, it includes cash reserves of commercial bank with the central bank. So what are cash reserves? देखो, जब भी कमर्शियल बैंक के पास कोई भी डिपॉजिट आता है, मैंने जाके एक बैंक में पैसा जमा किया, उस डिपॉजिट में से कुछ अमाउंट कमर्शियल बैंक को रिजर्व की तरह रखना पड़ता है सेंट्रल बैंक के पास, जिसको वो आगे लोन में नहीं दे सकता. So commercial bank is supposed to keep some amount of the reserve with the central bank and that is called as cash reserve. इसी में हमारे पास कॉन्सेप्ट आ जाता है CRR का, कैश रिजर्व रेशियो. cash reserve ratio tells us how much money commercial bank is supposed to keep with the central bank. कितना पैसा आप खर्च नहीं कर सकते हो, आगे लोन में नहीं दे सकते हो. You have to keep some proportion of your money with the central bank. So that cash reserve of commercial bank वो भी इसका part होगा, right? And third, other deposits with the central bank. Example, government deposits, right? So these are the three components of your money supply M naught. ठीक है. Now this is of course क्योंकि हमने क्या बोल दिया that this is the money created by the central bank. तो अगर आप कोई reverse पूछ ले that who issues M naught, who issues high powered money? Definitely central bank. So it is issued by central bank. And who is the Central Bank of India? RBI in India. Right? RBI in India. Okay. Now, why is it important? क्या है इसके roles? What are the roles of your reserve money, of your base money? ठीक है? The first role is, of course, I've already mentioned that it is the base which multiplies itself in the economy. तो ये आपका एक money multiplier है economy का. So it determines the potential money supply through money multiplier process, right? And secondly, this is something which is under the influence of central bank. ये बहुत बड़ी बात है कि जितना भी मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी होगा या कुछ भी होगा तो सेंट्रल बैंक जो भी मनी में चेंजेस लाएगा वो बेस में लेके आएगा. So it is directly influenced by the central bank, right? So this is about your first money supply component, which is your M naught, right? Okay. Now